All right. Antonio, you have a minute. Are you ready to tell us what you're building?
Yes.
What are you building? And don't forget to hold that mic up there.
Like this?
Yep, perfect.
Okay. 1 out of 4 people listening are completely overwhelmed by stress. And I had chronic stress myself too. I was anxious, irritable, and overweight. And I wasn't aware of it. Eventually, I got myself an Apple Watch to get immediate feedback on my calorie burn and exercise, and I lost 40 pounds in 12 months. Yet it took me 7 years to get into a better state of mind by experimenting with mindfulness. And the key to that journey was to label my emotions, but the lack of that immediate feedback slowed down my progress. At AWEAR, we're building the wearable that provides you with that immediate feedback to self-regulate your emotions. It's a smart ear cuff coupled with an AI coach that maps your brainwaves with actionable, personalized tips through the mobile app. It reminds you when to take breaks and how to develop new healthy habits. We are a strong team of engineers and neuroscientists from UCSF, Stanford, and NYU. We are funded by Techstars, and we are going to launch our pre-seed round next week.
That's a minute.
Thank you.
So you're wearing it, right?
I am, yeah.
Can we see?
Of course, yeah. This is the industrial design.
I'll hold it up to the camera.
While you hold it up, I'm curious, in healthcare wearables in particular, there's been this interesting divide of the like prosumer professional, right? The Whoop bracelet, like very detailed, and then the sort of more mass consumer appeal. So you're wearing an Apple Watch as well. Compare the difference between the quality of results between the Apple Watch tracking your heart rate, your oxygen, your sort of the things it does, and then wearing this sort of how much better is it, or how different is the results that you get from this?
Absolutely. So first of all, we are using a very different technology than all the other wearables. It's EEG. We are literally taking EEG technology from a lab into everyday life.
Yeah.
And EEG measures your brainwaves. So it's a much more direct measures of your central nervous system, as opposed, of course, to HRV, it's more autonomic nervous system. So there is that difference. If you try to tap into your emotions, you get more precise information through EEG.
But I guess what I'm trying to get at is how, so if the Apple Watch was like, all right, your heart rate's elevated, you're probably stressed, like they sort of do tell you so, or you should get up and walk, or is that good enough for most consumers and this is like 10% better, or are you like, no, this is like the Apple Watch should go away, it doesn't actually know any of these things? It's
really a different thing. With the Apple Watch, you're measuring mainly your physical stress, and here we're measuring more your mental stress.
Okay.
So can I ask the question slightly differently? There's a world in which measuring your physical stress is actually as good as measuring your emotional stress, because maybe our body emits a lot as a result of our psychology. And so maybe a different version of this question is, from an efficacy standpoint, is there evidence to EEG and brainwaves being some amount more efficacious?
Yes, there is, yeah. Definitely. There's a neuroscience experiment. There's lots of literature in the last 10 years of neuroscience literature on mapping emotions to EEG signal to emotions. Of course, backed also by our neuroscience research. We're doing a lot of experiments and tests, constantly testing technology to put in a form factor that is like this, portable.
I think, I want to hear so much more, but just to like make a point on this, I think a lot of what you just said needs to be part of your pitch. Like today, the devices do heart rate and a bunch of other physicality tracking. And what we're doing is EEG, which is brainwave tracking. The hypothesis of this is the motions, falling out of this can provide much more instructional self-awareness. And
and I would just say, like, prior to therapy and getting sober, I was a hotter-headed person, right? It was easier to anger. I actually don't know the science behind it. Like, would the Apple Watch have said, hey, chill out when I got angry about something? Or would it have said, no, I mean, if you're not like running around and jumping around and screaming and yelling, like it would have just sort of been like, oh, you're sitting there. You're stewing on these feelings, you're angry, but you're not running around. And you would say, no, this will know.
Exactly. And a practical example is that when I do 2-hour workout, my Apple Watch tells me I'm very stressed.
Right.
Which is rather the opposite. I'm actually very relaxed. That's the best
I would be stressed in a 2-hour workout.
Okay.
I would be stressed in a workout, period. I mean, that's interesting because I think, again, his framing here is helping me and the conversation's helping me more than the pitch. And so this is maybe where I modify the pitch, where even him is going, you could say words like, I don't know if this is true, the Apple Watch would not tell you at the end of a long day X, it'd tell you Y.
Yeah.
But AWEAR tells you X. And so, being very direct in that before and after essentially is what you're telling as a pitcher. Some pitches are before and after, and that's amazing. You have the ability to tell before and after pitch because of the physicality.
Yeah, and so moving from this point, just I want to make sure we get in a bit more to why you're building this and the impact it would have. So this touches on what I was trying to get at with the Whoop comment. Like, that's made for the professional athlete. Most people don't use it. Most people have an Apple Watch, and so help me understand the audience for this in your mind today and then the future. Maybe your view is 100% of people should be wearing this in the future, but today, is it people in high stress jobs specifically? Is it, people with challenges?
Yeah, we have interviewed a lot of consumers specifically for the Oura Ring first. Yeah. And now, of course, since we launched our pre-order on our website, aware.us, we are interviewing our own customers. Yeah. And we are asking why you're doing this. And kind of the common theme we're seeing is tech entrepreneurs, corporate executives, they're working under a lot of pressures, and they need to self-regulate themselves in real time. You're in the middle of the meeting. They want to see what's happening to their nervous system so they can do even just 5 seconds breathing and calm down, and you have a much more productive meeting after that. So that's definitely our ECP. We see a lot of patterns and clusters also in professional moms who just became moms. And so their stress level at home is significantly increased. And they need a closed loop feedback to really self-regulate themselves. So we believe that that's our first customers. Yeah. But we can see also like sports like tennis. Of course, the US Open
is happening
right now. And it's a mental game.
They're all very stressed right now. I can tell you that. It's only half a joke, though. It's like for some roles, you may just be like, look, you don't need to know if you're stressed about going and playing tennis in front of millions of people. Yeah. Like, you kind of do know you're stressed, and you probably aren't going to, like, in real time say, never mind, I'm going to get rid of my stress. But I maybe you will. I mean, I feel like that one may be a little bit out there. But I guess I'm curious about your approach to the market, how you think about sort of selling to that ICP. Are they buying, again, instead of an Apple Watch or in addition to, are they sort of thinking about this, or the Oura Ring you brought up as an example? What is sort of the early look like? Yeah,
I think it's very complementary to the Oura Ring and to the Apple Watch, the Whoop, because it's different kind of information. Like our long-term vision, what we see here for AWEAR is to monitor constantly your brain, the health of your brain and mind continuously. Yeah. So if you think of it, we go our entire life without ever getting a brain scan. When was the last time you got a brain scan?
I don't know.
You don't remember, right? I got it like 4 months ago because of my work, right? And I learned a lot about my brain scan. But we go through our entire life without a brain scan. And so then we wonder why we have strokes, burnout, stress, neurodegenerative disease. So the point of long-term...
Can I pause you for a second?
Yeah.
Even in the context of a longer conversation, I would caution you from going to the places you just went, because I don't yet, and you might yet convince me, have any evidence that you're going to solve that problem with this device. That doesn't mean you won't. I have no idea. But it sets up my skepticism alarms. Yeah. As soon as you said the word stroke, I was like, hold on. Yeah. These things seem to have generally now been abandoned by the scientific crowd. People who use an Apple Watch and an Oura Ring and a Whoop and even an 8Sleep. 8Sleep does temperature, so I think people like it for that. But the other devices, anything doing tracking, it seems to me the crowd that is on Twitter and talks about this all the time and watches the Huberman videos all the time, all that stuff, they've gone, actually, on the margins, this is mostly wrong and not useful. Yeah. Also, the patches came out of style. The glucose monitors. Yeah. They were hyped, and now everyone was showing off their levels patch. I haven't heard about levels in a while. And I say this to say, you don't want to put in my brain, oh, this is another one of those things that's going to make big claims, but the actionability is not going to be there, because you had great examples of when an executive wants to notice so they can change something. It's funny, like, you're not just making people aware, right? Like, your tagline should almost be, we don't just make you aware, we make it actionable, right? Like, you're telling us, and this hopefully is true, that the difference between this and that, and an Apple Watch, is something significant enough where you don't need to tell some sort of far-off story about strokes. And again, you might in a longer conversation, but only once you've convinced the people and the investors on the other side that you have that credibility, or they get excited about it, because otherwise, again, you triggered my skepticism brain. I want to go back to a question he asked. He asked about, so I just want to wrap on that.
Yeah, that's great feedback, yeah.
And I say that positively, right? It's because I was so into it, I went, hold on. So the other thing he asked about was, this notion of what does it replace, and you said complementary. I'm just curious. I have I have 4 different devices that I can put on my head other than an earbud. So I mostly walk around with Bose earbuds. But I have 4 other devices I can walk around with. I have Bose's cuff earbuds now. So I have the thing that wraps around the ear. I have the Shocks thing that you can put around your head, and it doesn't have anything to your ear. It's kind of like vibrating and playing out of speakers. I have Facebook's or Meta's Ray-Ban glasses. And there's like this loop thing, which is kind of like an earbud. It mostly just looks different. In other words, there seems to be an opportunity in this general space in real estate where an Apple Watch not only does HRV and other things, but it does so much else. Are you planning to be that, or are you planning to be more like an Oura Ring or Whoop that stays in its lane? I actually, just to put my cards out there, I think different investors would feel different about this. I'd be more excited by the Apple Watch for your ear. But is that the path, or is it more like Whoop or
our path is really Oura Ring on mental wellness. But of course, you mentioned once we are miniaturizing EEG in a very small form factor. So once you add this level of miniaturization, you can think of integrating with glasses, with all kind of other stuff. So you can think of it as a potential exit, potentially. Yeah,
but I don't have any of those wearables, by the way. So to be clear, I can just use this.
But the fact that I use all of them and I mostly walk around with the Bose earbuds tells you something about
No, I think it's very interesting. So I know we'll probably wrap on time in a second. I'm curious if you can just share a little bit about where you're at on the journey of developing the product and getting it to be live. And you can leave maybe some of the detailed scientific stuff out, but I'm just curious on general path.
Yeah, so we are iterating on the product. We got a working PCB. We are iterating on the industrial design of the wearable. We have an app, working app, with different devices, different EEG devices, including ours. We are constantly improving the algorithms. We have computational neuroscientists in our team that are constantly improving our neuroscience and our algorithms. We have tons of interviews, so we are keep learning, keep improving our product market fit. And our roadmap is to have a prototype we can give to beta testers within the next 6 months, and then in 18 months, ship the product to our customers. And that's what we are seeking the pre-seed round for, is to get to that milestone.
Cool. Very cool. Thank you for sharing, Antonio.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.